But it's all our self-effort. It's not us having faith and believing God to work in our lives. Big difference. So here's what it says. He's shown you, O man, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? Very simple. 3 things. I'm not going to use a ton of scripture tonight. It's very simple. Do justly, which means do the right thing. Practice justice in the way that you interact with people. When you're wrong, do justly. That means say you're sorry. Don't try to cover it up. Don't try to lie about it. Don't try to justify your behavior and say, well, you were bad, so that's why you made me hit, you made me hit you. Because you made me mad. No. Do justly. Okay? But if you're like me, when I hear those kinds of words, are you able to do that? If I just came up to you, I always joke with kids when I work with kids, and I talk about following Jesus. I love that song, I have decided to follow Jesus. But if somebody came up to you, and you were, say you were in New York City, you were all by yourself, right? And you were lost. You didn't have your phone, you didn't have a GPS, you were lost. And you were trying to get someplace safe. If somebody comes up to you and they're wearing a scraggly coat and they got the collar up and they got a scowl on their face and they're hunched over and they walk up to you and they say, "Where are you trying to go?" Now all the kids are nervous now. They're like, "Whoa, who's this weirdo?" If somebody spoke that way to you, would you go with them? Is that the way God talks to you when He says, "I want you to follow me"? See, Jesus said what? "Take my yoke upon you, because my yoke is easy, and your burden will be light." Why? Because Jesus is powerful. He's amazing. And not only is Jesus amazing, He is the most compassionate, the most loving, the most gracious person you could ever think of. So if you right now imagine the person that you think is the most attractive, the most smiling, the most loving, the most generous person that you can think of, take that and multiply it by about 5 billion, and then you're maybe close to what Jesus is. You see, what I say to people when I'm talking to them is I say, you know what? When God looks at your face, He cannot stop smiling. See, when I really believe that, and I let that into my heart, then I am going to be motivated to do justly in all that I do. So the question is, it's good to be motivated to do justly, but once again, if I came to you and I said, "Just do justly." You remember the Nike commercial used to be "Just do it"? Okay? But how many times when it comes to doing the right thing, you know the right thing to do, right? And somebody says, "Well, just do it." Does that work? Does that help you to always do the right thing? If somebody says, "Just do it," that would never work for me. I've been in the church all my life. I've always known the right answers. I was in Sunday school class. I knew Jesus was the answer to every question. I knew it all. But was I able to follow Jesus and not sin? No way. So just doing it never worked for me. Okay? So I think this is put in this order on purpose to help us to get to the place where we can do it. So when it says "do justly," I believe that the person who wrote this wanted us to know, I can't do justly. Are you kidding me? I could barely live 5 minutes without being mad at my spouse. or the person driving next to me. I can't do justly. Are you kidding me? How about love mercy? Well, that's a tough one. Love mercy? So, when somebody who is really wicked, who does all kinds of evil people to people, and then later on they come and they say they're sorry for that, and God forgives that sin, does that bug you sometimes? It bugs me. Because I have a hard time forgiving. Okay, so I have to ask Jesus to help me to forgive. I'll never forget, I was having a conversation with a gentleman. I was working at a trade show, and we were just sitting and talking, and just kind of casually talking, and then in an instant, our casual conversation went to spiritual things. And I just said to him, I said, so do you believe that if Hitler, before he died, asked Jesus to forgive him for his sins, do you believe that Jesus would have forgiven Hitler for his sins? This man said, no way. No way. He did too many bad things. He is beyond forgiveness. What I said to him is, I said, if Hitler is beyond forgiveness, then so are you and I. Because I don't care how many bad things I may have done or not done. My Bible tells me that if I look at somebody and I'm mad at them, it's just like I murdered them.
That's right.
And it's all the same. So the truth is that mercy, the only way we can love mercy is to realize that we need to receive mercy ourselves in order to be okay with the fact that other people are also in need of mercy and grace. But that's tricky, because that means I actually have to lead with my weakness and my desire that I need mercy. But if I do that, then I'm going to start to love mercy. See, when I call it saving Facebook instead of Facebook. See, most of the time on Facebook, people put, their family pictures, and we went to the fair, and we went to this vacation, and we did this really cool thing, But it's pretty rare that people go on Facebook and say, oh, I'm so thankful. Yesterday I had just the worst day. I yelled at my wife. I yelled at my kids. I was frustrated. And then I came to Jesus and I said, Jesus, would you have mercy on me and forgive me for my sin? And I went to my wife and I said, honey, please forgive me for being mean to you. And I went to my kids and I said, please forgive me. And they forgave me and Jesus forgave me. I love mercy.
Yeah.
Don't see that on Facebook very often, do you? Maybe we can start a revolution. We're going to start a love mercy Facebook revolution. It's going to start right here. See, God takes my sin, the big sins and the little sins, and He nails it all to the cross. And that's a good thing. Because if He didn't do that, I wouldn't be standing here right now. I'd be fried. So I love mercy. But once again, it's kind of hard to even love mercy with what? Without help, right? See, I said to God a long time ago when I was struggling in my faith journey, I said, God, I love you, and I know you're true, and I know I should follow you, I know I should get this mercy thing, and I know I should obey you and do everything that you asked me to do. But the truth is, God, the truth is, unless you help me, I have no shot. I cannot do it. And that's when my life changed. Is when I was humbly honest with God. And that's where we're getting. Once again, this is done in this way to get us to focus on the reason that the only way that we can do justly, the only way that we can love mercy, is if we walk humbly with our God. Notice it doesn't say walk humbly with your spouse's God. It doesn't say walk humbly with, your parents' God. It says walk humbly with your God. See, God is so personal. That's the part that just blows me away. I don't understand how God can individually listen to billions of people at the same time as if they're the only ones in the room. But God can do that. When you're talking to God, He's like, okay. Okay. All right, I'll get right on that. He's not like looking at you, and then a couple seconds later, oh, I'm sorry, hold on one sec. And then he's off to the next person. Oh, wait, one sec. Push the hold button. Then over here. God does not do that. He has immense capacity to personally love you and me. Personally. As if you're the only one in the room. Hear that again. God has immense capacity to love you as if you're the only person in the room. And His love for you goes beyond all expectations. Earlier today, I got here a little early, and I just needed to sit down and just kind of rest and be still for a second. And so I sat over there in that library back there, and I just kind of sat back in the chair, and I was just like, okay, I'm just going to spend a little time talking to Jesus. And it was so sweet. And then I fell asleep. And He's okay with that. Because when I woke up, He was there. Okay. Now, it wasn't I should stay awake and pray for like 4 hours. No, I prayed for like 10 minutes and then I fell asleep. And the whole time I was sleeping, He was looking at me going, man, I love that face. I don't know why, because I look at my face in the mirror and I'm like, oh my goodness. But He doesn't. He looks at my face and says, oh, I love that face. He does the same thing to each and every one of you. See, until the immensity of God's love for you impacts your heart, you will not be captured to follow God humbly as your God. Until the immensity of God's love for you hits your heart, you will not be able to walk humbly and follow Him as your God. So, what does it say? Walk humbly with your God. Little tip for you. When it says walk humbly, it doesn't say run humbly. It doesn't say leap tall buildings in a single bound humbly. It says walk. Every one of you kids in here, when you were growing up, do they ever do the marks on the side as you grow up? They do it on the wall. They mark how tall you are, and then they get a little taller. They do another mark. Have you guys ever seen people that do that? Yeah. So when you were growing, did you wake up in the morning and go, I want to grow 4 inches today? Boop! There you are. No. We grow and we walk gradually. And I don't know why God chooses to be this patient. But I think one of the main reasons is because we're naturally impatient. And if things happen really fast and really cool, it's really easy for us to get full of ourselves. But when things happen slowly, over time, and we look back and we see the faithfulness of God, how He was there every step of the way, every time we sinned and we blew it and we took advantage of God's grace and He said okay, and then we get back up and we keep moving and we keep going forward. Every time we do that, God is excited. That's why it says walk humbly with your God. Little thing about humility, it's kind of tricky to engage in humility. The reason I know is because I've worked